All right, so today we're going to take a deep dive into Mother of Rome. And I got to say, this book completely blew me away.
Oh, yeah.
It takes the whole Romulus and Remus story, you know, the one we all think we know,
Right,
and,
right.
like, flips it on its head.
Yeah, it's amazing how the author does that. Instead of, like, focusing on the twins, or, like, right there with their mom, Rhea Silvia.
Yeah, what a shift in perspective, right?
Totally.
And right away, you realize this isn't some, like, damsel in distress story. Rhea is a princess, yeah, but she's headstrong, and
Yeah.
she's trapped in this life she never wanted. She's forced to become a Vestal Virgin.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. For anyone who needs a refresher, that meant a life dedicated to the goddess Vesta, with, like, a vow of celibacy. Talk about pressure.
Seriously.
And the novel does such a good job of showing just how restricted women were in ancient Rome.
Absolutely. And Rhea just pushes against those restrictions, like,
Yeah.
constantly. It makes you think, is this just ancient history, or is it, like, echoing the struggles women still face today?
Yeah.
With all these expectations?
Yeah, that's such a good point. I mean, the novel definitely makes you draw those parallels. And then there's this whole thing with the eclipse, which I thought was, like, brilliantly done.
Oh, yeah. The eclipse, it's not just some random celestial event, right?
Right.
It feels like a bad omen, like something bad's about to happen.
Exactly. Foreshadowing all the turmoil, the tragedy that's going to hit Rhea's family. Like, fasten your seatbelts, It's going to be a bumpy ride.
Bumpy doesn't even begin to cover it. I mean, we got political scheming,
Yeah.
forbidden romance,
Yeah.
a power-hungry uncle. This is supposed to be the same story with the cute twins and the she-wolf.
I know, right? But that's what makes it so compelling. It's like we're uncovering some hidden history.
Totally. Okay, so speaking of hidden history, let's talk about Rhea's uncle, Amulius. This guy. He's straight out of like a Shakespearean drama. Power-hungry.
Ruthless.
So he's definitely the villain. But the novel shows how he manipulates everyone, even Rhea's father, the rightful king. Yeah, it's like watching a masterclass in manipulation. You see how power corrupts people, and how women like Rhea were just pawns in these power games.
And yet, she refuses to be a pawn. Even when she's facing these impossible choices, she keeps fighting for herself. That's what I found so inspiring about her.
Yeah, she's not afraid to break the rules,
Yeah.
even if it means facing some pretty bad consequences. Speaking of breaking the rules, enter Mars, god of war.
Okay, now we're getting to the good stuff. This is where the novel takes this mythical turn. And Rhea's encounter with Mars is intense.
Intense is an understatement. The novel does not shy away from the passion, the power of their connection. You're left wondering, how's this going to play out with all of Roman society's strict rules?
Yeah, it definitely raises the stakes. I mean, this is a Vestal Virgin who just had a rendezvous with a god. Talk about a scandal waiting to happen.
Oh, and believe me, it does explode. But I don't want to spoil anything. Let's just say, Rhea's choices, they have consequences. And those consequences ripple throughout the story.
They really do. And they force her to confront not just what society expects of her, but also her own desires and what it really means to be a mother. It's a journey that transforms her in ways she could never imagine.
Ooh, that's a perfect segue. But before we go there, what stands out to you most about Rhea so far?
That's a good question. I think what really strikes me is her resilience, She's been dealt a tough hand, but she never gives up. She's constantly adapting, evolving to survive.
Yeah, and she has to be resourceful, too, right?
Yeah.
Especially with Amulius always scheming against her. It makes you wonder how much of Roman history is built on these power struggles and hidden agendas.
But, it makes you question those official narratives. Oh, and speaking of questioning narratives, the novel introduces us to Antho, Rhea's cousin. She's fascinating because at first she seems like the total opposite of Rhea.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Antho is more quiet.
Yeah.
More accepting of those traditional roles for women. But as the story goes on, you realize she has a hidden strength, too.
Yeah, absolutely. She navigates those constraints of Roman society in her own way, finds love, forges her own path. It makes you realize there's no one definition of what it means to be a strong woman.
I love that the novel gives us these two contrasting female characters. It adds so much depth to the story. And it makes you think how women, even within the same society, might have coped with those limitations in different ways.
Totally. It also highlights how we can, make assumptions about people based on how they appear. Antha might seem meek, but she's tough. You'll see how she stands up for what she believes in.
No spoilers. But I will say, their relationship, it's a roller coaster. You never know where their loyalties lie, especially with all the political turmoil.
And then there's Rhea's pregnancy. Like a ticking time bomb, the suspense just builds as she tries to hide it from Amulius.
Oh, every time Amulius shows up, my anxiety goes through the roof. You just know he's not going to let anything, even family, get in his way.
It's chilling to see how far he'll go to keep that power. It makes you think about how power can just warp people.
It's a cautionary tale for sure. But amidst all that darkness, there's this incredible theme of maternal love and protection.
Yes. This is where the she-wolf imagery takes on a whole new meaning. It's not just some cute story about a wolf nursing the twins. It's like raw. Rhea's fierce determination to protect her children, no matter what.
It's like she taps into this primal energy, this power that goes beyond the limits society puts on her. I got chills when wow, I can't say too much, but things get pretty wild.
That's the beauty of this novel. It blends history and myth. And these powerful emotional journeys, you start to see the she-wolf, not just as a symbol of Rome, but as a reflection of Rhea's strength and how she changes.
And speaking of transformation, I have to ask about Tiberinus, the river god. He's so mysterious. What did you make of him?
He's so intriguing. Like, he represents these ancient forces at play, that deep connection to the land where Rome will be founded. He's wise and otherworldly, like a guide for Rhea when she needs it most.
I love how he adds this layer of myth and magic. It's like we're stepping into a world where the Roman gods are real.
And his connection to the river is so symbolic. Water is often about cleansing and rebirth. Makes you wonder if he's not just a guide for Rhea, but also a symbol of hope, renewal, that her children might bring to the land.
That's a fantastic point. It brings us back to the bigger picture. What is Mother of Rome trying to tell us about how this empire began?
On one level, it's this thrilling story. Political intrigue, forbidden love, the struggle to survive. But I think it also asks us to question those official histories, to look deeper at the forces that shaped Roman society and the roles that women played that we often overlook.
And let's be honest, who doesn't love a good story about rebelling against a tyrant? But in Mother of Rome, it feels so personal.
Absolutely. It's not just about taking down the bad guy. It's about taking back control, fighting for what's right, shaping a different future.
And I think that's what makes it relevant today. It's about the struggle for power, the complexities of family, and how strong the human spirit can be.
I couldn't agree more. It makes you think about the stories we tell about history and the different perspectives that we forget.
It's a powerful reminder that even in chaos and darkness, there's always hope.
Speaking of hope, the novel takes a turn when Rhea and Antho are reunited. But I don't want to give anything away.
Oh, that reunion, it definitely shakes things up.
Okay.
Let's just say their relationship gets even more complicated and the stakes get higher.
It's amazing how the author, even with all the action and politics, never loses sight of the human element. You're constantly rooting for these characters.
It makes you realize that even in ancient Rome, people were dealing with the same emotional dilemmas we face today. Love, loyalty, survival.
Exactly. And as we head into the final part of our discussion, I can't wait to talk about the climax and the impact it has on Rome.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
But first, let's appreciate how the author weaves together history, myth, and these personal journeys. It's what makes Mother of Rome so captivating.
And now we're finally getting to the twins themselves, Romulus and Remus. It's amazing how the author brings them into the story, you know?
It's like everything we've been talking about comes together in them. Fate, power, motherhood. They're raised as shepherds, no idea who they really are, but destined to, shape the future of Rome.
And their upbringing, it kind of mirrors Rhea's in a way. They're both living outside of Roman society, connected to the wild.
Oh yeah, you can totally see the she-wolf connection with them too. It's not just a symbol for them, it's a real presence.
Like they inherit that wildness from their mother, that fierce independence. And that's what gives them the courage to challenge Amulius, to confront his tyranny.
Speaking of Amulius, he's still there in the background, pulling strings, clinging to power.
Oh yeah, you almost feel sorry for him, seeing how paranoid he is, how afraid.
Almost. But then you remember all the terrible things he's done.
Exactly. The novel doesn't let you forget that.
And you just want to see him fall. The tension keeps building. You know the final showdown with the twins is coming.
And it is epic. The battle scenes are so vivid, you feel like you're right there.
And the she-wolf is right there with them, fighting alongside them.
It's like Rhea's spirit is in that she-wolf, protecting her sons even though she's gone.
It gives me chills too. It's a good, powerful image.
It really speaks to how strong family bonds can be.
And in the end, it's not just about winning or losing. It's about what kind of city Rome will be. Will it be built on greed and tyranny, or will it be something better?
That's the question the novel makes you think about. And it goes beyond ancient Rome. It makes you think about our values today.
What kind of world are we building?
Exactly.
Mother of Rome. It's more than just a historical novel. It's a story about resilience, family,
Yeah.
And the fight for freedom and justice, it stays with you.
It really does.
Well, I know I'm adding it to my reading list.
Me too.
We've only scratched the surface of this book.
There's so much to unpack.
And for anyone who thinks they know the Romulus and Remus story,
I say
this book will change everything.
it's a must-read.
So to wrap things up,
Yeah.
I want to leave our listeners with a final thought. What other untold stories are out there? What hidden voices? If we just look beyond those traditional narratives.
That's a great question.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into Mother of Rome. Until next time, happy reading.